A popular question is how I did the rear suspension, and you can't really see anything right now because it's all muddy. And I have these spring bags on it to keep all the mud out of everything. So these are Koni inserts that are for a GC Impreza, and I've built custom housings. You can just slot these into the stock housings, but I kept bending the stock housings. So I built some custom housings, and then there's coil-over sleeves that sit on there. So the housings have two different sizes of tubing. A larger diameter at the bottom that I had to weld the ears on that mount onto the strut. And that's about the same OD as the coil-over sleeves. So the coil-over sleeves slide over a narrow diameter piece, which is welded inside there. On the Koni inserts just fit in. Like, I really had to like grind and make everything perfect to get them to fit. I had to like lube them up and slide them in there.
Yeah.
I would do slightly thinner tubing next time just to make that less of a nightmare. But yeah, Koni inserts. The springs are a 3-inch barrel spring, so it's a 2.5. Then it tapers up to a slightly bigger 3, because otherwise the springs were clattering against the coilover sleeves during articulation. And just stock top mounts. The bottom mount I used actually 2 coilover seats so I could lock them together instead of using the little set screw, because they chew up the sleeves, and also they just get rusted and then you can never adjust them again.
And what size tires did you say you were running?
These are 235/75 R15. So I think that kind of, they're general Grabber AT2s. That comes out to like, I think 29.5 or 29.8 inches overall diameter.
Okay. What's the max you think you could fit in here, or would you go any harder than that?
The issue for these is clearing rear tires. You normally hit the spring perch on the tire. Not so much an issue on the fronts. The fronts just have a spacer in there. Very, very simple. So that's why you go to the smaller diameter spring that the coilovers offer, and you can clear bigger tires. So you could definitely go bigger, but I wouldn't go any bigger. I don't think, because you lose gearing. You kind of run out of. We run out of steam before we run out of traction sometimes with this thing too.
Yeah.
So unless you had like a monster engine in it, I wouldn't go any bigger than this. I think this is a pretty good size, or even maybe just a little bit smaller.
You could put like a performance exhaust on it.
Oh, I have that.
Oh, okay.
So the entire exhaust is stainless steel mandrel bends, 2.5 inch, I think, 2.25. I don't remember. I built it a while ago, and so it's a somebody CNT, I think, makes the header. So it's an equal length header, and then it has a high flow cat, and so then I'd put a resonator on it. I wouldn't really bother with the resonator again, and I used to have a second muffler like right under the diff here. I got rid of that. His clearance issues were bad. It didn't really do much. The thing that made the sound reasonable to a tolerable level is this is a MagnaFlow, just straight through muffler. So that's the exhaust. The main reason I built that, honestly, I didn't care that much about making extra power, but power is always nice. But it was for the clearance. The stock exhaust hangs down kind of low in the middle. This one's tucked up really high, especially now that we've bashed it against everything.
Did you custom install like the leaks?
The leaks?
Exhaust leaks, yeah.
Oh, no, those were added by the trail.
Okay.
I guess I could pop the hood and show you the front lift. The front lift are, like I said, are just spacers from SJR. These guy melts down old alloy wheels and then casts these parts. I'll sell you ingots of it too. He calls it wheelium or something. Those are pretty straightforward, just 2 inches. That was definitely the easy way to go. So that is actually cat aircraft tubing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a fabric, like almost like with rubber or tar on it or something. And they use it for ducting, intake, and heating and stuff inside small aircraft. So that's the snorkel, obviously. So there normally is like a box in here and a little Helmholtz resonator and stuff, but I got rid of that, and so I cut part of something off of one of those things and used it as an adapter to run to this cat tubing. And then there is a, I think it's a, oh, look at this. It stays up by itself.
That's not right. Shouldn't do that.
It's because of the angle we're at.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust that. And so then this comes around, you can see up in here. Yeah, you can see from here if you want. There's a 90-degree, I think I bought it from Rockler. I think it's a dust collector elbow. And I bought those because they're actually 2 inches, right? rather than PVC and stuff, which are all goofy ass sizes, despite their nominal sizes.
Yeah.
And so then that runs to a straight little section of really thin wall polycarbonate tubing. It's too thin wall. I think it was 16th. I would use 1/8 inch at least next time, because again I could get that in dimensional sizes instead of nominal sizes. That runs across there to another piece of this cat tubing. This hole was I really carefully cut in the fender. I used a laser to project a circle down onto the surface, and then traced it out on a piece of paper I taped on there, and then cut it out. Turned out pretty well. And then more cat tubing. It's a little bent up. And then more too thin polycarbonate here. Need to replace that. Little brackets I made up that are replacing the little pins that hold this trim on, which was missing anyways.
Yeah.
So they're just pop riveted into there. And this used to have a proper snorkel head on it, but I ripped it off with a vine last time I was out. I'm going to 3D print something cooler for this.
Well, that's plenty cool, man.
It works. This is the strut brace I built. So I just took a couple of extra top hats I had from my strut project, and I split them in half just by pounding the studs out of them, and I used the top half, and they're just sitting on top of the nuts that are there to hold the strut on without a couple more nuts. And I'd welded a little washer with a bolt in it there as a stud, and then just bolted this piece of unistrut down, and then just got these couple of unistrut adapters here, and got these handles that do this. See, they move freely when you push on them like this, but then you drop it down and you turn them so you can reposition them wherever you want after you lock it down. Got those from McMaster Car. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, you definitely want to have a strut brace, otherwise you will destroy your strut towers. You can see where they're starting to separate from the body. This is the second one of these that I've done this to.
You had it on there.
Yeah, that started to happen before I put the strut brace on there. My previous Subaru I really destroyed. That doesn't like closing on the hill. We'll have to close that later.
Yeah, that is totally...
The body's twisting a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Good stuff up here is the bumper and skid plate. So this bumper is where it attaches into, this is the stock hole for the stock bumper. I had to open up the hole a little bit, and you pretty much have a rectangular hole there. And it uses the stock mounting bolts on the bottom here. And then I also made a couple holes up here in the engine compartment through the top rail. I think I enlarged some existing holes to mount that. I should have made that out of one piece instead of two pieces, but I didn't have the right material and I was impatient and just wanted to get it done. So this is all 1.5" by 3/16 wall tubing, I think. Square tubing, of course, obviously. And yeah, I mean, you can see how it's built. It's built like this. It goes over here. Skid plate, 3/16 aluminum. This is brilliant, huh? So this is one piece plate. You can see the exit for the winch here. We'll get back to that in a second. Oops, I'm gonna lose this thingy. So here you can see so this skid I had was one of the first things I built for my first Subaru. I've modified it a little bit, but you know, protects the oil pan basically. You see I have it cut out around the header for more clearance because you had to drop it kind of far to clear the header.
You regret having to go equal length?
No, I mean, if I could find an unequal length that was cheap and had better clearance, yeah, I would. I picked this one because it looked like it would have the best clearance. Although it's really hard to tell because nobody gives you those kind of specs, right? If you look down here further, you can see in a couple of the newer editions. You can see I added a skid plate over the transmission here. Part of it's actually attached to the header at the front because I didn't really have a good place to attach it to, but the back, there's a cross member that's bolted up to the transmission. I had a little cross member I welded up, and that's attached to that. And then way back there, you can see, right, oh, I'm touching it, is my fuel tank skid, which is really ugly, but it works. Those are all 3/16 aluminum. That fuel tank skid, I've got a couple little brackets that drop down from like the differential cross member. I need to do those a little differently too. They need to be like joined together by a piece of steel or something welded because they kind of shift a little bit. And then there's a little bracket off of one of the rear differential things that's the back end's attached to, so it's only attached at 3 points. But that's been good. You definitely need that because there's a lot of dents in the gas tank. We're lucky we never got stranded on account of that. Nice shot from the side showing the skid plate. You can see right through it. That works really well, actually. It like really slides up and over everything. That was a huge improvement doing that.
100% my idea.
Oil pan, 100%.
Get her done!
And the winch. I think that's about the last thing anybody would care about. So the winch, what I did to make this easy to get at, so there's the free spool lever in there. And I'll show it when you get off. I slotted out these couple of top mounting points for these plastic clips. I slotted them out at the bottom, so you can just crack the hood a little bit and then lift the grill out. And then you can get to the free spool lever easily enough. So, and you can see this is a Terra, Superwinch Terra 45. It's been, I think, the perfect winch for this vehicle because it's pretty light. It's only like 30-ish pounds or something. And relatively inexpensive too, but it's been plenty strong enough. We pulled it up some 30 to 35 degree slopes. There's a video on that.
We pulled it up a mountain.
Yeah, we pulled it up that 35 degree slope without doubling it at all, I think.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, so here's the solenoids wired up right here. I got the socket for the controller attached right here. So you can see the way it's mounted, there's a couple of straps that run between these two tubes for the bumper, and then it's mounted to there. And so then the rope actually feeds out through the base of it rather than out the front like you typically see them. I got this custom spliced, really low profile fair lead. I got the nylon rope here. I used to have the wire rope, but after I got my hands stabbed 1,000 times on frayed wires, I decided it was time to upgrade. That was the best thing I ever did. The rest of the wiring up here just traces up to here, and I got this, I think it's a 150 amp circuit breaker. Definitely use a circuit breaker, not a fuse. You don't want to be stranded on the trail because you blew a fuse. That's pretty cheap. I just got that from the auto parts store, I think. And then I'm also running, I got a set of HIDs here. So here's all the ballast and the whatever the hells they have there. A little relay thing here. And then they just slot right into the stock spots. I have the graveliest voice today. Here's my bumper. It's made of rust, mostly. The stock bumper covers have to go because they just got ripped off all the time.
Same thing with the side skirts.
Yeah, the rocker trim here.
Looks cool.
We zip tied it on so many times we just gave up. So in my case, I have it set up a little different because, I have the center differential from 2005 Legacy GT, which is the torque biasing center differential from automatic. This is automatic. I wouldn't probably bother with that again, except I blew up my center differential before, so I needed a new one anyways. And it does give you a 55 rear, 45 front torque bias. You can kind of do a donut with it. It's pretty hard though. It's not that much of a bias. But I think it's the mechanical, the way it's built mechanically transfers some of the torque. I think it's a little sturdier or something. So
that's about the limit for spending on this car.
Yeah. No, I think I had to pay $300. No, I think I paid $150 for that transmission that I had to buy the whole transmission just to get the when I did that when I did that the center differential,